All right, team, we're back. This video is all about product management. If you didn't know, on my day job, I'm a senior product manager at a Fortune 500 company. I want to give you the day in the life of a product manager, and we're going to use a very familiar product, the one I'm using right now, to record this video, an iPhone. We're going to assume I'm a product manager at Apple. How would I operate as a product manager to get work done? We're going to talk about four things. Let's jump in. The product, features, planning, stories, and grooming. First, let's talk about the product. What is a product? A product is a set of capabilities that you deliver to an end customer. That's it. If we think about the iPhone is so important for Apple because it generates nearly $200 billion a year. That's what it generated last year. There are 1.8 billion users on the iPhone. So an extremely large user base generates a lot of cash for Apple. So it's very important. But the product itself is the iPhone. Then you have features. Features are a singular capability. One capability that's attached to a bigger product. So if we think about the iPhone as a product, what features can you use on an iPhone? Glad you asked. iMessenger, you can text people. You can make phone calls, FaceTime, security, camera, storage, apps. Those are all features, and I'm going to make a big assumption. Because of the scope of and size and scope of this product, I'm assuming that there's likely multiple product managers for each of these features. There's probably a product manager for iMessage because there's billions of users sending billions of text messages every single day. So we're going to use that as an example. We're going to assume I'm the product manager at Apple responsible for iMessenger. Now, let's talk about the planning process of a product manager. You typically plan a quarter at a time. Beyond a quarter is so much uncertainty, it's hard for you to understand what the future could look like. But when you're planning, who are you planning with? The big three. You're planning with product, engineering, and UX, user experience. That's the trifecta. Those are the big three in a squad that's working together to understand what's keeping the customer up at night, what new capabilities do I need to unlock so that they can continue to use my product and my features. Now, the fourth person that you or team you need to involve is the business. The business, think marketing, sales, finance. Depending on where your product or feature is located, you have to make sure that as a product manager, the first thing you do is delight customers. And you also want to deliver business value. Because you can have billions of customers excited about your product, but if it has a negative ROI, it's not driving the business. So you have to keep that balance in mind. But within planning in that quarterly cycle, each quarter as a product manager at Apple, responsible for iMessage, I'm likely going to present, this is my roadmap for the next 3 months. These are the things that I want to build, and they're going to be within 4 areas. These are problems I've identified through customer research. You cannot forget about customer research. The voice of the customer is the most important aspect of product management. Enhancements. There might be something that I see that's currently step 1. I want to get to step 2, making a step change, not something very dramatic. Also, KTLO, keeping the lights on. These are bugs that you identify throughout your product or feature saying, okay, I need to make sure that I improve this. Customers are complaining. I'm getting a lot of survey complaints or calls to the contact center. That's something you need to do to keep the lights on. And then the last one, these are the most complex, innovation. These are big rocks, the first ever XYZ. Those are some of the big innovations. So you're thinking about those 4 areas as you're planning. Once you have your plan together, you're going to communicate that. So I'm communicating that to my engineers, and they're going to give me insights on, well, what's the level of effort? So you're going to have some feature sizing. I'm also going to work with my UX team to create mock-ups. Here's what it's going to look like when we build this. And then last part, we're going to get into sprint planning. During sprint planning, that's a 2-week time period where your engineers are actively building some of the user stories that you wrote. And that's going to be the next thing we're talking about. All right, we just talked about the planning aspect of product management. You typically plan 3 months at a time. And during that quarterly plan, I'm creating a roadmap, which is a visual of where I'm going to take my feature in the future, communicating that to the big three: product, engineering, UX, and a close partnership with the business. And that should be based on customer research. What's important to the customer? Never forget that. Now, when you get to the sprint planning, that's when you're going to start to write user stories to be able to communicate that to engineers of where you want to take the customer and what experience that you want to create for them. Here's the structure of a user story. As an iPhone user, I should be able to edit a text message so that I can communicate to my family and friends. That's the set structure. You want to call out who is the user, what is the capability, and what is the value it's going to give to them in terms of that experience. So once I have that user story, now I have the user story, I have my mockups. UX has shown me here are the screens. This is what it's going to look like when a user is in iMessage. They send a text message and then they want to edit that. They hold that message and then this pop-up shows. Like that whole experience needs to be created in a mock-up before you build anything. So once I have this user story, then I'm going to go to grooming. Grooming is a ceremony that happens in product management where me as a product manager, I'm on a call or in a room with all of my developers. I'm saying, hey, here's my user story. It's all about how to edit a text message. Here are my mock-ups. And they're going to ask me questions. Well, how long can you edit a text message? Is it 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes? What happens if you need to edit multiple text messages? Can you do that? They're going to ask very specific questions to understand what I'm trying to bring to life. After I answer all those questions, then the Scrum Master or Project Manager can say, all right, now let's point the story. And that's where you get to story pointing. Think about story pointing as 1 point equals 1 day. So the range typically is between 1 to 8 points. So either 1 day of an engineer's work or 8 days. Now within these 4 items, I want to break down the complexity. If it's a new problem, something you've uncovered, you don't have any historical code there, that might be a 4 or 5. Now, if it's an enhancement, this is something that already exists, I'm taking it from 1 to 2, that's probably going to be maybe a 3 or 4 in terms of story point. If it's keeping the lights on, this is something that it's a bug. When a customer tries to press that button to send a text message, it's not sending or the message is not being delivered. That might be a 1 or 2 maybe, but that's something that's minor. Now, if it's a new innovation, we've never done this before, this is next level stuff, that's likely going to be a 5 or 8. 8 is the most complex, and sometimes depending on the timing of the sprint, they may decide to break it into, okay, I'll do 5 points this week, and then next week I'm going to pick up the last 3. So that's how you can think about story pointing as part of creating a user story. All right, team, let's recap. Today we're talking about product, features, planning, stories, and grooming. The product example uses the iPhone, one of the most used technology products in history. With over 1.8 billion users, it generates nearly $200 billion in sales. I was a product manager focusing on that specific within that product. What is a product? A product is a set of capabilities. There's more than one that you unlock for a user of that specific technology. Now, a feature is a singular capability. Think iPhone, but then you also have iPhone's a product, then you have iMessage. You have FaceTime, security, camera. All those are different features that you can use for your iPhone. We talked about planning. As a PM, I'm planning on a quarterly basis. And I'm communicating that to the big 3, product, engineering, some people will say tech, and then UX, in close partnership with the business. Remember, the most important voice is the customer. The customer pays the bills. And I have different opportunities in terms of how to communicate my plan in the form of a roadmap. Remember, the roadmap is a very key task that all product managers are going to own. But I'm communicating my quarterly plan. I'm going through feature sizing. Is it a t-shirt sizing? Is it a small, medium, large? The level of effort. I'm also creating mock-ups with my UX team to show my engineers what the future is going to look like when we deliver this capability. And then lastly, sprint planning. That's that 2-week cycle where engineers are heads down building things that are on your roadmap as part of your quarterly plan. And then lastly, we talked about user stories, which is a way to communicate what this capability is going to be for customers in the future. And it has that structure. As a user, I should be able to blank what is the feature or capability so that That's going to tell the value that you're giving to the customer. And then lastly, story pointing from 1 to 8. 1 story point equals 1 day. It can go up to 8 days depending on complexity. And that's within these 4 areas. What is a problem, enhancement, if I'm keeping the lights on with a bug I need to fix, or an innovation, which is the most complex. Team, this is something I wish I knew about 10 years ago. I didn't know product management exists. If this was valuable, give me a thumbs up, follow, and comment below if you have specific questions on product management. I love this space. I wish I knew about it, again, years ago. And it's nothing like communicating a user story to your engineers and seeing the lights go off. Like they're so excited to create this and solve this problem for customers and doing something that's never been done before. I truly love what I do, and if you're interested in this field, please reach out to me. Across my social media platforms, I share interview tips and career advice to help you elevate your game. I'll see you next time.